have this idea that we're moving from a knowledge economy where you're compensated based on what you know to an allocation economy where you're compensated based on how well you can allocate the resources of intelligence. And what's and I think that that's sort of in line with some of what we've been talking about here with people listing job posts that, for writing or translation or just any kind of skill says, I want you to translate, but I want you to do it in an AI assisted way. That's sort of like an allocation economy way of thinking about it. It's like, I want you to know how to manage the model to do the work. And what's interesting to me about an allocation economy lens is that the skills that are useful in that world are skills that we have today, but they're not particularly broadly distributed, and those are the skills of managers, human managers. And I think that those skills are going to have to be much more broadly distributed in the future because you won't be managing humans necessarily, but you'll be managing models. And there's a lot of the same questions that come up when you're managing models as with managing humans. So an example is for early managers, it's really hard to know, okay, when do I delegate this? And when do I get into the details? Or which person should I use to do this task? And how do I scope it? How do I make sure that it gets delivered on time? All that kind of stuff is it's really hard. Those questions are really hard. And it doesn't necessarily mean, I think people have this view of AI where it's like, oh, I just push a button and it goes off and does it. But that's not how management works. Even with general intelligence, it's hard. And knowing what's going on under the hood actually for anything that you're managing really makes a difference. So I'm wondering, I wonder if you can talk about that a little bit more. I wonder what that sparks in you.
Yeah, Dan, and I love that piece that you wrote. I mean, I think this is kind of one of the first times I'm seeing it called the allocation economy, and I think that's a brilliant way to think about the transformation that's taking place because you're going to start seeing all this language, right? As AI and agentic AI, I think becomes even more mainstream this year. We're going to start seeing it referred to as coworkers, and I think just the relationship we're going to have with AI is going to dramatically shift, likely to happen this year. And so, if they view it as an allocation economy through that lens, I think makes a lot of sense, and hopefully helps people feel more comfortable of that role. Now, here's my major concern with where we are today in the state of management is all the research and that I've done, and to your point, going back even to the last 100 years, we have a very industrial point of view of managers today. And the primary purpose of a manager is to drive efficiency and productivity. And when we're talking about allocating work to humans, that is not working very well. I mean, Gallup continues to come out and tell us this least disengaged workforce. We've got the Edelman Trust Barometer that came out last week that tells us that, more than ever, trust is on the decline. People don't trust business leaders today. And so I do think we're in a state of crisis when it comes to that management leadership style, already managing humans. And now we're going to put in a potential threat of AI and, this new coworker that they now have to work alongside. And I think it's going to be a real challenge today if we don't even get the human to human part of leadership and management right. Maybe in some ways the transactional relationship is going to be fine because it's going to be AI, but we even see the way that people are approaching and talking with AI, which has almost become humanized. And I think that is going to be a really interesting point for, as we think about allocating work, what work should go to a human, versus AI. And I don't know if we really know that. And how do we treat people in the midst of that, I think is going to come to the forefront of many organizations.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I really loved as part of your book, sort of this history of management philosophy and and taking the way that historical management philosophy has taken its cues from science and engineering,
Yes.
which is really helpful if you need to control a vast organization and have lots of people who don't know each other collaborate at scale.
Yeah.
Is thinking about an organization as a machine and reducing things down to numbers and sort of worshiping at the church of increasing shareholder value. And how that works on the one hand, but also on the other hand, it produces environments where people don't trust each other and feel a little bit dehumanized and has all these other negative effects. So there's lots of trade-offs. And I actually think that in an allocation economy world, there's a way to look at it where it's okay, it's being used in furtherance of the same kind of structures. And so then it's just a zero sum. It's replacing people, and it's not very good. But what strikes me about AI is it allows people to coordinate at scale without having to reduce performance down to numbers, because AI sort of like it operates in a much higher dimensional way than a spreadsheet, and so it allows you to take in and it can take in and react to information in a much more subtle, almost human-like way than you're able to if you're just like looking at a spreadsheet and being like, well, the profit went up or the profit went down. And I think it has the potential to eliminate many, many layers of management. Not necessarily like we won't have managers at all, but like organizations will be a little bit, you'll be able to get further as a smaller organization where people tend to know each other and tend to treat each other less as cogs in a machine, basically. And I think that that's actually like a really important potential outcome of this is smaller organizations that work together more collaboratively and feel more human, because the AI allows them to do more and coordinate better than they would without it.
Yeah, Dana, I think that's spot on. And one of the things, I don't have numbers yet, but one of the things that we're studying this year at the Upwork Research Institute is, will we begin to see entrepreneurship rise because of AI? And to your point, like the barriers of entry to starting a business or all the administrative cost and overhead that would be within a startup can be offloaded to an extent. And I think especially, I mean, AI is probably the worst we ever are going to have it in our human history. It's only going to get better from here. And so I do think, but this is going to be a profound mindset for the average person and worker today, because if I were to make a prediction, and again, I don't know if this is true, but I'm going to guess based on what you just said about the management layers being reduced. We've already begun to see this in some of the tech companies who are reducing their management layers and headcount for AI to do some of that. I think, that full-time employee model is going to change and be disrupted. We've seen the social contract changed over time, over the last 20, 30 years. I don't think anyone's expecting a pension today. I don't think anyone's expecting to stay at the same company for their lifetime. And so the question becomes, where is there going to end up being more security for your skill set? Is it staying tethered to one organization as they begin to contract and offload more to AI? And is the alternative safer career path and more opportunity actually becoming an entrepreneur, becoming a freelancer, working for some of these small sized companies? And I think this is going to be a really interesting point for our economy, because so much of our thinking is wired to these large organizations, shareholder wealth maximization. And I think the true promise, to your point, of AI is beginning to democratize access to entrepreneurship. And I think we need more of that, because I think we need more innovation today. The way I'm seeing these large companies use AI is for efficiency and cost reduction. And I don't actually know if that's where the promise of AI is, to be honest with you. I think it's actually for us to do something different with both our work and our livelihood. And that to me is, as I think about the altruistic positive side of this, is where I hope we take this.